Do you think Kevin Costner would play a great Will Bolt in whatever this season is right now?
Oh, he was buddies with Augie Garrido. That's why he used to show up at the College World Series. He could probably try. He could probably try to play a coach, I would guess.
Yeah.
Do you think any of that Augie Garrido-ness has rubbed off on Nebraska baseball? Because if it hasn't yet, it needs to.
Yeah, they need that inspirational fire.
Yeah. I don't think so. At least not to the degree that Augie could bring it when he could. Yeah, it's kind of do or die or get going time here for Nebraska going to Maryland. So see what they can do. They've got to win some series here down the road.
Yeah, so I mean, the nice part about the loss to Kansas is it doesn't really matter in the scheme of trying to make the Big Ten tournament. Obviously, doesn't matter. And the schedule actually sets up okay for Nebraska, right? Like they're playing a lot of bottom third Big Ten teams in these last few series to give themselves an opportunity.
Yeah, well, everybody's in the same neighborhood trying to make the tournament. You've got what's left: Minnesota at home, Michigan at home. You finish on the road at Purdue, so
yeah, and then Maryland
Maryland this weekend. Yeah, that's
a road trip to Purdue to make the Big Ten tournament. That's always ended up well.
Yeah, well, you can always expect some tarp shenanigans there in West Lafayette. So hopefully there's no rain. But no, it's interesting. Like that Kansas game not mattering. It kind of did matter. Like Nebraska still is going into that game was in this very weird like in between area where you still need to make the Big Ten tournament. But also your RPI was good. You were sitting in the high 60s, low 70s RPI wise. And at least like if you got it rolling, you could have probably made a case that you could have played your way into something. And it's a missed opportunity is what it is. So, yeah, I mean, you're kind of snapping it right now where it's like you're going into now you got to turn your focus to, okay, now we got to get to the Big Ten tournament where, midweek, it was kind of like, okay, we still have a chance at maybe doing something here in terms of an at-large. So they're kind of playing they're having to kind of figure that out. But, they're going to be challenged at Maryland because Maryland is like they're like a slow pitch softball team. They hit a ton of home runs. They score runs. And that ballpark, it plays like a little league field sometimes, depending on which way the wind's going. So they're gonna need to pitch it well, but they're also gonna need to be prepared to score some runs.
Yeah, I guess, Bruntz, I know we talked about this a little bit last week. I know what the metrics kind of say, and I'm just having the hardest time imagining Nebraska as a basically 500 Big Ten team, maybe a 500 or a little bit worse conference record, actually getting considered for an at-large. And maybe that's a me problem. I know what the metrics are, what they are. I've never really been able to get my mind around them being in a real play for an at-large bid.
Yeah, I mean, the Big Ten's had at-large teams that have been in the 50s RPI-wise. And,
yeah,
I mean, as much as you want an NCAA basketball tournament, the resumes, I mean, they very closely look at RPI. I mean, that's that's the funny thing about baseball is it just seems like it's like you talk, and it's like, okay, well, here's the numbers, and here's who's getting in. So I mean, you're farther away from that now because Kansas was a top 25 RPI team, and that was one that you probably needed to get if you were going to continue that conversation. So, but yeah, I mean, it's all about getting to Omaha and trying to win it there now. I think that's the easiest path for them right now, and it's not an easy path.
Bruntz, with all the question marks that have just been like throughout the season with this team, do you feel like you have an idea, like a semblance of, can this team make it through the next stretch to get to the Big Ten tournament from just the back and forth and the, questionable losses, the head scratching defeats, that sort of stuff, and then also these big moments? Do you feel like there's a middle ground that they can ride to be able to get there? Or are we going to keep seeing this roller coaster?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been the frustrating thing about this team is every time you felt like there was a chance that you're going to start, getting some momentum, you haven't. I mean, after the Oregon State series, you felt like you were going to maybe find something there. Didn't happen. You won a home series against Rutgers, and it felt like things were kind of rolling forward a little bit. Didn't happen. And even, the beating Creighton and then, the way that Friday kind of played out against Northwestern. I mean, that was a tough, really tough setup in terms of the wind at Haymarket Park. I mean, everything was getting out. I mean, we were joking that you could have hit a fungo out of there with the way it was blowing out to right. But, I do think, that's kind of been the frustrating part of this team is it's never – the momentum has never gotten past a few games, and you have to be able to do that. I think the one thing that does work in Nebraska's favor is the schedule, is there. I mean, you're not having to play Oregon down the stretch here. You're not having to, play UCLA who've already played, or the schedule is very favorable in the back end. So, I think the one thing that you can maybe take from last weekend is you did get Ty Horn and Jackson Brockett through 5 innings, which had felt like such a big lift for most of the season. You just need more consistency across the board. And, at least for the most part, for the last month or so of the season, the bats have been somewhat consistent. So we'll see if they can kind of carry the day against a pretty good Maryland offense.